Analyzing climographs. How to read and interpret climographs. This is a climograph. It shows you the climate of a particular location on Earth. Now it may look overwhelming because there's a lot going on, but once you know the parts, it's fairly straightforward. On the left-hand side, you'll see the y-axis labeled precipitation and centimeters. This measures how much rain or snow that an area gets during the year. Again, it's measured in centimeters. The axis on the right shows you degrees Celsius temperature, or how hot and cold it is throughout the year. Now, how do you know which one's which? Well, temperature changes over time while precipitation is measured and collected. So we use a line graph for temperature, and we use a bar graph for precipitation. So the bar graph shows you how much rain an area receives. Each bar represents how many centimeters of rain a location gets each month. So for example, maybe I want to know how much rain this location got in March. I could read to the top of the bar and then go across to the y-axis on the left, and I would see that in March, this location gets 10 centimeters of rain. What if I wanted to know the temperature in July? Well, same thing. I would go up from July until I got to the line graph. Again, the line graph shows you the temperature. And just like reading a temperature line graph, I would hit the line and then read across to the temperature y-axis. Now, one thing to be very careful of here is that the temperature axis is going to be skip counting by twos. So the temperature in July is not 22.5. In fact, it's about 25 degrees because, again, I'm skip counting by twos. So it goes 20, 22, 24, 26. Since that dot is in between 24 and 26, I would estimate that the temperature in July is about 25 degrees Celsius. Now, what can we do with a climograph? Well, interestingly, you can tell where a climograph comes from by looking at two key factors. The first is temperature. The temperature graph, the line graph, will really determine which temperature zone you're looking at. If you see a line graph of temperature where the temperatures are hot all year, that's going to be a location in the tropical zone. If temperatures are cold all year, well, that's going to be in the polar zone. And if you find yourself with a graph where you have warm summers and cool winters, well, that's coming from the temperate zone. But we can be more specific. We can also look at precipitation, because precipitation tells us the latitude. Remember, at 0 degrees on the equator, you'll find a climate with lots of rain all year. At 30 degrees latitude, north or south, you'll find a climate with very little rain. Again, less than 60 centimeters. At 60 degrees north and south, you'll find spots with lots of rain. Again, more than 60 centimeters. And at 90 degrees north and south, you'll find very dry climates. Let's see if we can determine where this climograph comes from. So here's our climograph. At first, I want you to analyze the temperature. And remember, a really useful line is this 20 degrees Celsius line, because above 20 degrees Celsius is warm and under 20 degrees Celsius is cool. Now when I look at this temperature line, I can see that in June, July, August, and September, or the summer months, that this location's warm, and the rest of the year it's cool. So instantly I know that this is probably going to be in the temperate zone. Next, I look at the precipitation data. And what does this tell me? Well, looking at each of the months, I can see that this location gets rainfall every month of the year. And if I added up all the rain, I would see that this location gets 105 centimeters of rain, which is going to mean that it's a wet climate. So what does all this tell me? Well, let's go through temperature and precipitation. The temperature graph showed me that it had warm summers and cool winters, and that tells me that that graph comes from the temperate zone, which means that it could be either 30 degrees or 60 degrees. The precipitation graph showed me that it had consistent rain all year, and I know that the equator and 60 degrees have consistent rain. And then I look at temperature and precipitation. I try and find the latitude that is the same. Turns out that at 60 degrees, I would have temperatures that are warm in the summer and cool in the winter in the temperate zone, and I would have consistent rain. So sure enough, that climograph came from 60 degrees north. And why do I know it came from north? Well, because in the northern hemisphere, summertime is that June, July, August, September. If it was in the southern hemisphere, it'd be flipped.